Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to present the visual of this situation, and we're going to see what kind of choice the dog's going to make. Here? Now, they're both more interested in the other dog than the handler, which is why you get this floating out effect that you're going to see both of them are doing. This is why I don't do walk-bys right now, because the dog is clearly not in pack drive or capable of choosing the handler over the dog. Now, if I decided to push the dog through this, and you know what, we're going to do this, and you're going to just have a bunch of leash pressure on you, and I'm just going to force you through this, that leash pressure is going to indicate that there is tension about this situation, because this is literal. Be tense. So I don't really want to add a bunch of leash pressure in order to accomplish my goals here. I just want to be able to do this with a lot of loose leash and e-collar pressure, and first and foremost, the dog being capable of staying with me instead of bolting out at the stop. Now this goes for both dogs. They're very similar in that they want to shoot out towards the dog over staying with their handler. Good. So I'm just doing a lot of repetitions, and these repetitions are, let's face this dog. What are you going to do with the information? When you start moving towards that dog, I'm going to move backwards behind your back, out of your peripheral vision, and then you're going to come back to me. Let's go. It would be delightful if you could come back to me on your own accord quickly, but if you can't, then I'm going to either do a let's go, or what you're seeing Hillary and I do a lot of right now is recall. We like to practice a lot of coming and calls. Now, good. Great choice, buddy. The other thing I'm doing right now that's absolutely exhausting for the dog is I'm switching their drive, because when they see another dog, they're either going to go into prey or defense, however they feel about that dog. So they're in a drive that doesn't really help them accomplish their goals very well. So by backing up, and recalling them, now this is a blow off. That was, I'm pretty tired of choosing you over this dog. I'm going to go and redirect onto the grass, because I'm not really interested in committing to you right now. I really would like to be in prey drive. So I'm switching the drive, and I'm building the drive as well. I'm building pack drive, because when he starts to wander off and fixate, he has to come back to me. So does Basil with Hillary. You know, at least 15 feet, or at the most 15 feet, he has to come all the way back to me. And so that's a big commitment. And that distance that I create is one of the reasons why the pack drive builds up so high. See, we're getting a blow off here. He wants to sniff the grass and fixate on other things. This is pretty typical in the first phase of the training, because you know they are so used to being on high alert and fixating and prey drive so much that when you start to really bring out that pack drive, that kind of addiction to his air sensing right now. So that kind of addiction here to I need to redirect into prey drive. It's hard for me to commit to a handler and go into pack drive because I'm not used to that state of mind. That's a really common response in a dog. So, good choice, buddy. So it's not like he's being defiant. It's just, especially not this guy. I don't see it as that. I see him as he's really actually trying to work through this right now. And it's hard for him because his primary state of mind is, let me fixate on everything in the environment but the handler. So this is a huge progression for him, but also a huge challenge for him. What number are you on? 8. So, I know, both owners have have had enough knowledge about the e-collar to understand that the e-collar matches the intensity of the brain. She's an 8, which is a decrease immensely for her in terms of the sight of another dog. I think this might be one of the closest she's been to another dog without. She's super mellow.
Yeah, she is. She's been doing great.
What a delight. Clooney's on a 31.
Oh.
So this is a very sensitive dog too. But what that tells me is that even though he's more composed, and I think he's fatigued, honestly, I think this is fatigue because he's not used to any of the things he's been doing since he's been here. His e-collar numbers are all over the place. He's not as easy as Clooney's brother on the e-collar. So like this is all on a 31. So the number isn't as important as the response. I don't really care about the number as long as I'm getting what I want from the dog. I do care about the number in terms of I obviously don't want to shock them out of it. I'm trying to teach them right now. Come. But if the e-collar is not influencing their brain at all, I need to go up until it does, but where it's communicating with them and not shocking them necessarily.
Dude, she's unbelievable right now. I'm really proud of her. I know, me too. She's actually really sweet.
So is he.
Yeah.
He's probably like, finally got a bunch of sleep.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Uninterrupted.
That was a little tough for her, but...
So, I'm probably not going to encourage you necessarily to do a walk by because I don't think that it's probably going to be, especially when the dogs first come home, I don't think you're going to have this level of smoothness that we're having right now. This is because it's quite higher professional, right? We know what we're doing, like some of us do. But I think Hillary and I, we didn't even have to communicate it with each other. It was just, we just flowed. We knew they were both ready, so we just kept going. A great indication the dog's not ready is if they really start to shoot out or that leash pressure really turns on. You need to create more distance. Get them out of the situation. Now, my hope is that as we continue to do follow-ups together, you guys will be doing these repetitions at home so that I can get to a point where I teach you how to do walk-bys without as many turns and repetitions. But considering most of these dogs are leash reactive and haven't been here all that long, we need to make sure we're being fair to them and desensitizing them from this before we ask them to walk by it. Good job. You are exhausted. You are pooped. No, sit. Sit. Start to get into that hover around your personal space with anxiety.
Yeah, she's getting a little bit here. She's like, how did I walk my hedgehog?
She's like, I don't know if I like all this complimentary stuff.
For real.
That must mean I'm giving in. Better up the ante a little bit. Come. Here. The other thing you guys are going to notice about what we're doing right now is how many minutes, Eddie?
9.5.
Is that we're both moving the dogs a lot. We're moving the dogs around a lot. So a lot of trainers, everyone has their way, but a lot of trainers will just, sit. Let's just keep this dog in a sit while a bunch of dogs walk by them and keep them in a sit. Clooney can barely stay in a sit without a dog walking by. So yeah, we might be able to train him that, but between him and Basil, both dogs are going to actually load into a heightened state of prey drive. So if I say sit and allow him to just see, he's already loading. I haven't even sat him. The longer he sits like this, the less he's going to know where I'm at, and the more adrenaline's going to course through the system. That loading of prey drive is going to create forward momentum, and eventually they're going to lunge. So I don't like to do sits because it keeps the brain locked instead of focused on the handle. So what you guys can also be doing, if the dog starts to stay in a heel like this, but still intermittently fixate, is to just do some turns like this, like figure eights, right turn, left turn, and really just kind of keeping that handler engagement going so the dog doesn't have very much time to look. Now, one of the other things I want to point out is, like, you watch, I was just watching Hillary and Basil, and she calls Basil back to her, and then gets that nice commitment I've talked about with everyone, where we sit. All right, you're committed to the recall. But if you look at Basil, she's in that position, but she's staring at me and Clooney. So what Hillary does is, let's go, and then turns her, because what she's doing is preventing that loading of fixation, so that if she continues to move forward, Basil's prey drive is going to escalate. Eventually, she's going to lunge. I always know when she's on the leash, I'm getting somewhere. Yeah. Let's go. Good job. Now, I don't know what kind of space, I've never been to your neighborhood, so I have no idea what kind of space that you have, but I highly would advise you to, good, hi, here, to be doing this in space where you can create 15 feet of line without your dog being able to get to the dog, and be able to have an out where you can go, all right, I need to create distance. So I don't know what your neighborhoods look like, but in some cases I have people go to parks instead of neighborhoods to work on this because there's not enough space. And in the desensitization phase of training, space is your best friend. We can teach them to tolerate each other this far away. We can slowly close the gap until the walk by is smooth. Let's go. Now it's kind of fascinating, but this is a great example, in my opinion, of a doodle versus a Doberman. Because Clooney's been here, what's today? Thursday? 5 days. Basil's been here 10 days? Yeah. Basil's been here 10, Clooney's been here 4 or 5. And Basil's struggling more with this than Clooney. All the doodles I work are super sweet and easy, and this is bred to be a guard dog. You have a power breed on your hands. So, this is why, and also Basil has a much higher prey drive and came in with a heck ton more anxiety than Clooney, so that's another reason why. But in general, this is what we see from the froofy pet dogs that are bred to be pets versus these working breeds that are bred to work. It takes longer to desensitize a dog whose nature is to be suspicious than it does for a dog whose nature is to please their owner. And the determination behind Basil comes with that power breed status. You know, I feel like Clooney's like, I don't really have this level of stamina or determination to continue on with this. I think I'm just going to stick with this lady. She seems like she knows a lot. And I feel like Basil's saying, fuck you, lady. I want to listen, but my instinct tells me I need to be suspicious. And this is why I've been putting a lot of emphasis with Hannah and Ben over taking this dog more seriously, because Dobermans can be extremely problematic when we let their breed characteristics take over their entire personality. We got to guide them out of it if we want them to be good pets. What else? Did you miss anything? So the last thing I'm going to talk about is that Hillary and I are obviously using each other to help desensitize dogs. When you're going to be in these situations, it's going to be rare that someone's going to be walking back and forth so that you can work with your dog, right? So because that's not realistic, your goal is to continue to long line and work your dog until the dog doesn't care anymore. And that might mean that the dog has completely left the scene, they're no longer at the park, or they're no longer in your road, they're completely out of sight, but your dog is still worried about whether or not they're there. So the main goal of this, even if the dog comes and goes, is to just keep getting your dog to pay attention to you and choose you over that dog, whether it's inside or not, so that you capture this picture of the dog choosing you over the other dog. Your dog choosing you over the strange dog. If you capture that picture over and over and over again, it becomes long-term memory. So we just really want to focus more on whether the dog is super far away, up close, or has left the scene of the crime. The dog still, you know, has this memory of, I follow my owner around and take their direction. So that's the last nugget of information I have for you guys today. I hope this was helpful and that you could see the progress both of your dogs are making in this type of a scenario.